here with Patrick Tan, who is the Chief Counsel of ChainArgos and also the co-founder of the Blockchain Academy in partnership with Bucharest. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Javier.
Okay, my pleasure. So you gave a keynote that evoked a lot of interest, a lot of passion. I could hear people clapping at the end and people meeting you afterwards. What was that about? You were talking about some fresh insights that.
Well, yeah. Honestly, I thought the response took me by surprise as well. So, I only made 3 main points, and that is that our ongoing partnership with ICI Bucharest has been extremely successful. We're very pleased with that. I believe our partners are extremely supportive of us as well. And we've achieved some good progress over the last year. And I think one of the things that I think resonated with the audience is that, well, blockchain intelligence has sprung up essentially, kind of sneaked up on the crypto asset blockchain industry, as you will, as a sort of cottage industry that's been here to support, be it from KYC ML angle or from like macroeconomic policy, financial stability concerns. So we were concerned, not just at ChainArgos, but as well as at the Blockchain Intelligence Academy, that with the rise of any new industry, you don't have time to, you don't have the privilege of using established standards. You don't have the privilege of having a commonality as to what, it's not like the audit industry, which has been around for, I don't know, centuries at this stage. It's fresh, it's new. And our concern was, and this was the nub of my keynote, which was that we need to look at a couple of things, a couple of pressing issues, which is what the focus of not just the Blockchain Intelligence Academy will be in the coming years, but also the Blockchain Intelligence Professionals Association, which would be have its headquarters here in Bucharest, as well as ChainArgos as well. It will be a joint initiative with Bucharest, the Blockchain Intelligence Professionals Association, as well as the Blockchain Intelligence Academy, and that is, we are committed to these 3 major pillars. One, which is to establish data interoperability. So what do I mean by data interoperability? Essentially, the things like attribution of wallet addresses, tagging wallet addresses, there's no common standard. When we talk about the ability to use data across different platforms, there are no common standards. How you attribute clustering, as they call it, how do you attribute this wallet to this actor? How do you attribute upstream wallets to that actor? No common standard.
And let alone AI, in behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Trying to make sense of pears and apples. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't know how to shop.
Absolutely. It's exactly that issue, as you rightly pointed out, Javier. It's a machine, right? And if you feed a machine garbage, it is going to churn out garbage. And that is a major issue, because I'll explain why this is such a major concern for us. It's all fun and games until North Korea shows up. Terrorist groups show up. And we start to deprive our citizens of their liberty on the basis of this blockchain tracing, blockchain intelligence. And of course that should be something that concerns not just us, but it should concern everybody. Because if you imagine that this technology that we have, blockchain intelligence, so to speak, is not, and this is to the next point, which is that we need to establish transparency in terms of how this attribution is established. We're not saying that companies should reveal their secret sauce as to how they do the tracing methodologies. But at the same time, I don't think that a black box approach is correct either. Because if, let's say now, you go to court and you provide a blockchain intelligence as an expert witness testimony, if the defense you don't provide sufficient evidence, information, or capability to the defense to at least backward trace or have, provide justifications as to why you think that the defendant committed these alleged crimes, then
How
we're
can
going.
you challenge it?
How do they challenge it? How do we maintain the integrity and sanctity of our courts of law?
It sounds to me like it's a trust me, bro, but in a legal setting.
Exactly. And that is the hallmark of this whole industry. This industry is full of trust me, bro, throughout the whole industry. It's not just on the front of office with your crypto asset service providers. It's also sort of the back office and the middle office. Well, maybe not so much the middle office, but the back office functions. Blockchain and exactly.
Can be.
And it could be weaponized. Now imagine if it became possible that I understood, because it's a black box, right? And I knew a way, and we can't discount that this is possible, but if I knew a way to, or understood your heuristics, I could game your heuristics. I could frame you, especially if you're a politician or something, and I wanted to make it look like you had received unjust enrichment or coercion, and I wanted to frame you from that lens and make it such that the blockchain intelligence providers would say, this guy received a bribe.
Right.
I could do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And there's enough appetite always for that kind of witch hunt.
Yeah, exactly.
And when is it real? When is it not real?
And I think the third prong of that keynote that I give, and I think this is the one where it kind of struck me as to how many people came up to say that I've always kind of known that, but I wasn't able to articulate it. And I understand. I understand that viewpoint because you sense something is not quite right. It doesn't pass the smell test, but you can't exactly put your finger on it. So in that situation, what we were trying to say is that one of the third key pillar of what we want to do in the next year is to establish rigorous empirical and scientific testing. Look, if you're going to want to use this as this expert witness testimony and you want to admit this stuff in court, if we look at DNA evidence as the very highest, like that very highest level of admissibility in court, and even when it comes to DNA evidence, we know that if DNA is not properly handled, that evidence becomes inadmissible as well. So it's not uncommon for the defense to question the way the evidence was handled.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's DNA. And if we were to compare like DNA, and handwriting is like maybe here, and then blockchain intelligence is probably right at the bottom.
There's three ways two or three ways of knowing or estimating what is the identity of a wallet, who's behind a wallet, right?
Sure, there's plenty of ways, yeah.
So one of them is doing business with, for example, an exchange.
Sure.
As a blockchain analytics company,
Yep. Yeah,
that's the highest level of certainty.
yeah,
Then there is the pseudonymous address. You don't know who, but you know that it is linked to an exchange, so you subpoena the information
correct,
to the exchange,
Yeah.
and they give you a real identity.
yeah,
And the third
Hopefully.
way is the heuristics, right?
yeah.
And that's the one you're talking
That's
about.
the one I'm talking about. Like, okay, oftentimes I think when people look at blockchain intelligence, they don't really know what it is. I'll give an example. Oftentimes you go like, you'll see people say that all of this stuff is inherently traceable. Use the transparency of the blockchain to figure it out. We'll catch the bad guys. Now, if an elephant were to walk through this room right now, I think we notice. And those are the kinds of hacks or tracing that oftentimes people refer to when they talk about. But if there were like a dozen mosquitoes buzzing around, maybe we'd notice one or two, but it would take a while, or mayflies, something, small bugs. And that is, unfortunately, the nub of the issues that we're facing here. It's easy to spot the elephant walking through the room. A little bit more difficult to spot the tiny bugs.
But I would say it's even when the mosquitoes that you're following, the little cloud of mosquitoes,
Yeah.
goes into the jungle.
Oh, forget about it.
Well, it's like a hack that broke up
Yeah,
into
yeah,
smaller
yeah.
wallets, and they go into a mixer
Yeah,
or multiple mixers,
multiple mixers. Yeah,
and then they reconvene somewhere else. But how do you know that what comes out of the mixer is truly
exactly.
one of these mosquitoes that you want?
Exactly that. And that's why we're committed to subjecting, and one of the pledges that we made on stage, and we invite all the stakeholders in this industry to participate in, is a commitment to scientific testing, to empirical analysis. If you claim that your heuristics, so to speak, are of such high level of integrity, then why wouldn't you subject that to testing? If we are, as a society, open to denying someone their liberty on the basis of this testimony, surely then we should expect that the integrity of that testimony should be subject to some kind of checks and balances.
Rigor, yeah.
Exactly. So we subject any kind of other forensic science, other forensic evidence, we subject that to testing. There's a reason why phrenology evidence is no longer admitted in court, in most jurisdictions. There's a reason why handwriting evidence is circumstantial at best. It's not compelling evidence, but it can be, in certain cases, admitted. So there's a reason we have these processes, because we tested them. We tested them empirically. What are the error rates? What are the false positives? And what are the false negatives? Mm-hmm. And these are basic questions we should be asking. Now, if you're looking at the blockchain intelligence data and the transaction data and the analysis purely from a financial standpoint, and you just want to know where all the money went or where all the money is going, then fine. But if you are taking that data to a different level and using it to the level where you're using it to deny people of their liberty, I am 100% sure that you should subject that to greater testing. Go.
No, it sounds to me like there's two kinds of rigor that needs to happen, two kinds of synchronization, standardization that needs to happen. One among the law enforcement themselves, within a country, within the international arena, and just like that, we have standards in the U.S. GAAP, for example, and international non-U.S. GAAP standards for accounting.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin, which you have been talking about, is the standards among blockchain analytics professionals.
Yeah.
So the Blockchain Academy and the Blockchain Association, what's your vision that they can accomplish, let's say, over the next year or 2 years? Yesterday you had a couple of members, potential members, say, how do I join, basically, right?
Yeah.
So how do you see these evolving, this consensus to create a standard? Would it be a top-down where regulators and law enforcement say, this is what we expect, the minimum common denominator? Or do you see the industry coalescing and saying, hey guys, let's work together? I know that I was interviewing yesterday 5 CEOs of blockchain analytics companies. They seem to be in agreement in a lot of things.
Correct.
So how do you see it evolving?
I think similar to the way FinRA, I think, FINRA operates, it could start off, and probably it has to start off as a private sector-led initiative. I think, and this is not a criticism on government and bureaucracy, it's the same anywhere in the world. It takes time. That's why it's called bureaucracy. It takes time. There are hurdles that you have to cross. You have to get a buy-in, first of all, and by the time you wait for that to happen, the horse is already bolted.
Critical mass have enough key players supporting it. There may be a competing one on the other side.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They can coalesce at some point in the future.
Correct. So if you have enough stakeholders in the blockchain intelligence industry who care enough and who say that, look, sure, we're all in the business to make profit, but if they see this as a long-term goal, like, look, if we want this industry to endure for the long term, and if we want as companies to build lasting legacies, then we need to make sure that we do the right thing ultimately. And if doing the right thing entails coming to the table, sitting down and saying, look, we're not going to wait for government to set the rules. We're going to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And we're going to create these standards ourselves. And we're going to set these as the industry standards. And then we demonstrate to the rest of the world that, look, you don't have to buy into these standards if you don't want to. But there is a lot of benefit for joining. And there's if you don't join, that's fine. You can go off and do your own, but there will be obviously clearly better commercial outcomes for you if you do join this initiative, this cooperative. And ultimately, the goal is for the Blockchain Intelligence Professionals Association and the Blockchain Intelligence Academy is to get to that higher standard and achieve it and establish it, and that becomes the industry standard.
Right.
And once it becomes an industry standard, it's easier for government to co-opt that standard as the regulatory standard.
Right. And then the analytics, the AI become much more predictable,
Yeah, exactly.
much more reliable.
We can then, once we have to agree on the rules, and then once we agree on the rules or the standards that we want to set, then we can get to the level where we can see how do we then now start to apply some of the new technologies that are available to us, like AI. Now, people ask us all the time about applying AI to tracing and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, there are applications for that to a limited extent. But if you provide any kind of model, very noisy data or data that's inconsistent, it's not going to give you the good outcomes that you want. It's not going to give you the conclusions that you want. Worse, it will lead you down garden paths that you had never intended. Mm-hmm. So I think when it comes to this is, the industry as a whole should hopefully see this as an incredible opportunity to do not just what's right, but also what's best for our companies and for the industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. So let me switch gears.
Okay.
So there's the issue of privacy.
Sure.
There's been efforts to create privacy within a transparent blockchain world.
Yes.
Right? It is admittedly the preference of institutions to operate with privacy.
Sure.
Like they do in the over-the-counter market.
Yeah.
Within capital markets.
Sure.
Most of the trading gets done either on a bilateral basis
sure.
or over-the-counter with anonymously,
yep.
electronically,
yep.
so forth. So now we've talked about standards, but now let's try to imagine, for example, last week we had two layer 2 proposals, modules that came forth. One sponsored by Ernst & Young. Mm-hmm. They call it Nightfall. And the other one, and that one looks at the internet the SSL certificates, that as a way of policing, who gets access, unfettered access to the to participate within I don't want to say permission, but certainly gated.
Probably like a walled garden.
Yeah, walled garden, but within a DeFi setting, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who's allowed to make deposits into
sure.
the DeFi. But then there's also 0x BAO, another fresh start that is using privacy pools as a method, and they seem to have a leg up over proof of innocence, which is the very ineffective tool that is also supposed to give privacy in a compliant manner.
Yep.
So all this privacy, wouldn't that also throw out, make it much more difficult for certainty to develop within that environment? I mean, because you can poke holes in just about any automated security protocol, to make a DeFi compliant.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what's your, you put on your future hat on, and you can see how this market is likely to evolve, with more privacy, more institutions in it.
Yeah.
But how does that play into the certainty of who's behind,
Who's behind all the transactions?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting, and I've always found this a little bit amusing, where you see that all over the internet and people go like, I have a right to privacy and stuff like that. Well, the answer to that is, it depends on where you live. Because the right to privacy is a fundamentally American concept. Yes, you have a constitutional right to privacy, but that's if you're an American. and it never stops to amuse me, because you have all these developers from all over the world, and they go like, privacy is a right, privacy is a fundamental right. My response to that is usually, have you read your own constitution? I mean, if you believe in these fundamental rights, then perhaps you should come to the United States. But in the absence of that, privacy is not a universal right. I'm not saying it should be or it shouldn't be. Don't get me wrong.
It's just a matter of fact.
It's just a matter of fact. I'm just stating facts that privacy is not a universal right. And even in these United States, it's not a universal right that is
always
practiced
enforced.
exactly. It's not practiced with consistency, I would say. We've seen regular periods of times in our government where that so supposedly inalienable
the right
right
to forget, or
correct.
yeah.
So now we get that out of the way first. Now I don't think that, and this is on a personal level, but I don't think that the right to privacy is good or bad. It's just something that people want to express. That's okay. I think the important thing to remember is that when it comes to these, now you've got the Ernst & Young blockchain and the privacy pools and stuff like that. I think when you have a walled garden type scenario where you say, okay, look, I'm going to provide you the privacy that you need, but I'm not providing you secrecy. And I think there's a difference there. We're conflating, and this is, as is typical in this industry so much, we're conflating two concepts. Privacy and secrecy are different things. E&Y maybe should know who their customers are because they permission them to participate in the scheme. That's okay, because E&Y has your secrets. It's private insofar as only the people who need to know need to know. A private room doesn't mean that nobody else can enter. A private room means only those people you let enter can come in.
Well, I should mention that EY, in this case, they've turned over the code, made it open source.
Okay, there you go.
So they don't know.
Yeah. So
whoever the apps admit using their code that they provided.
Okay, so that's a different application of it. But if like, let's say for instance, if you have a permissioned sort of walled garden kind of thing, and you can preserve the customer's privacy, if you open source the thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's completely okay. I think that's completely within our constitutional rights to do. But I think it's not a right to secrecy. Because if you have a right to secrecy, it means you can do literally anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by definition. So if you operate a service which gives people the right to secrecy, I am not making a comment on this, but I don't know where you sit when it comes to the law, because I don't know that you have a right to secrecy. I know you may have a right to privacy depending on where you live, depending on what kind of passport you carry, but I don't know that you have a right to secrecy. And I think that's...
If you were Swiss, maybe a while back, you had it.
Yeah, maybe. And even then, I think that was, and it's because of that. It is precisely because of this provision of those secret services, secretive services in those jurisdictions.
For tax evasion, that became an issue.
Exactly, and money laundering and the facilitation of a lot of illicit activity, that actually led to some very poor outcomes.
Yes.
And that is why action was taken. What we're seeing right now is that this, crypto bro-led belief in the right to secrecy is leading to some very poor outcomes as well. I mean, we're sitting here on the sidelines of the Digital Innovation Summit Bucharest 2025 at the Blockchain Intelligence Forum, and we're talking about greater transparency, greater interoperability, and stuff like that, a $1.5 billion hack, the biggest robbery in the history of maybe everything, has just occurred not too long ago. And I wonder, and I said this on stage, I said, I wonder, standing in the same place here 1 year from now, whether or not we'd be talking about something that's 5 times more, 6 times more, bigger hacks, poorer outcomes.
What had caught me in my ear when you said what you said, I thought that, how do we know that what one blockchain intelligence and then another, one media company and then another repeated and became the truth?
Yeah, of course.
It's not really a copycat of the Lazarus Group.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
Because Lazarus Group is unlikely to say, yeah,
they're not going to stick their hand
not
up.
That one.
Yeah, like I'm claiming responsibility for this, and this, but not that one.
Yeah. So, how would we know that?
Yeah.
In this world, yeah.
I said that on stage. I said, I'm not saying it wasn't the Lazarus Group. I mean, the FBI has come out to say it was. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying that I don't have enough information, at least from my perspective. So hopefully they have some specialized information that confirms what they believe. But I'm saying that based purely on what's publicly available, I don't have that information. And I'll explain why. There were none of the methods that the hacker had used were unknown. These were methods that have been known since 2018. They've been open source. None of the wallets that funded any of these attacks were linked to specific identifiable Lazarus hacks. The reason that was provided, at least from the public style investigative detectives, was that, the methods that they used to hack Bybit were the same as Lazarus Group. But think about it conversely, if I were a thief, if I were a hacker, that's exactly what I would want it to look like.
Exactly. You could get away with by copying.
Absolutely, you can do a copycat.
They become the patsy.
Yeah.
You get away.
And it's the perfect bogeyman because they'll stop looking because there's no point to go after the Lazarus Group. They're not going to go after the North Koreans. You make it look like the North Koreans did it. But do we know? And this is the thing that I stressed. And I think, I don't know if it's social media or what it is, but we have seemed to stop asking, how do we know? We stop asking that question. And I think whether you are an investor, a trader, law enforcement, regulator, and policymaker, when you look at any piece of information, I think the first question that we have to start asking is, how do I know? How do they know? How do we know?
And that level of knowledge may vary. Let's say you have a layout of the tracing of an operation. The level of certainty varies across the different process. It's not necessarily all white or black.
Yeah, that's right. It's not binary by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And I think, and this is where we go back to the Blockchain Intelligence Academy, and one of the goals there is not just to provide you with tracing skills. I mean, you can watch a YouTube video for that, I guess. But it's to provide you with that critical thinking to say, what are the tools and intuition that are available to me as an investigator or a trader or investor or somebody who's looking for opportunities in the market? What are the tools that are available to me, both paid and open source, that I could use with my actual intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence, that I could leverage and then make better informed decisions? And that's what we want to do at the Blockchain Intelligence Academy. We want to develop those critical thinking skills, to equip people with those critical thinking skills, because we believe that having those critical thinking skills will benefit them not just now for their current application, but for a long time to come in any field of life or any field of work that you intend to pursue there on out.
Yeah. And totally agree with that. And one of the other noteworthy things that I noticed was that several of the major legislators, so we had somebody from the ECB, somebody from the New York Department of Financial Services, others from Italy,
Yeah.
and so forth, that they wanted to have the Romanians, of course, they want to have their own heuristics. They want to
Yes.
take in information, analyze it,
Yes.
and they may want to take it as an API
Yes.
torrent of data, not necessarily your interface,
Yes.
which is more designed for manual
Correct.
one-offs, but they want to take it all in and run their own, heuristics and their own analysis, as well as their own internal databases, captured databases that they have, and also share with another, let's say, Homeland Security is sharing with FBI,
Yes.
sharing with IRS, criminal investigation, and so forth, the tax records. They want to, apply those models in that kind of way, but the industry, some of the dominant players apparently are not quite ready for letting go of that other model, which
Yes.
is, it's more graduated. They make most of their money on training,
Yes.
an interface.
Yes.
But Blockchain Academy is doing things differently. You're training it, for a relatively low cost, and then giving them access to the tools as well.
Correct.
So, can you walk us through that differences?
So our goal isn't to get anybody hooked on any specific software. I'll give you an example. Tesla, controversies aside, but Tesla open sourced all of its patents on its battery technology and stuff like that, because by doing so, everybody co-opted that technology and then they created networking effects. So when it comes to blockchain, the Blockchain Intelligence Academy, the idea is to provide critical thinking skills so that it's not just our software or competitor software, but they use a variety of software. So the industry as a whole grows. So there's more customers that you could address, as opposed to just a very small fixed customer that's only trained on your software.
Yeah.
So with the goal and governments and other regulators and policymakers, they're keen to extract the data themselves or receive the data themselves and then build their own applications on top of it, precisely for the reason that you just said, which is that they're concerned about the heuristics, they're concerned about the integrity of those heuristics, and they would like to develop their own. And that's where they can find a home in the Blockchain Intelligence Academy, because we help. We've already trained, I think at this stage, about 50 to 100 people. And we want to continue training more people, not in how to use a specific piece of software, but to develop the critical thinking skills that you already have, just to continue to develop them, so that when you receive that blockchain data, you're able then to, okay, here are the heuristics that I would build. Speak to the development team. Here are the sort of thing. Here are the assumptions we can make. Here are the assumptions that we can't. And those, when we make those assumptions, here's the probability of false positives or false negatives.
Right.
Better outcomes for everybody.
And they could be smarter sharing across borders, so that there's less duplication by law enforcement. Perhaps that's another way in which the standards could be set, and that's the goal. The standardization.
That's the goal.
Of information. Anything else that you feel strongly about in terms of what you heard here, or where you see the blockchain analytics industry going, that needs to be brought out or understood better?
I think one of the things that I found extremely humbling was just how far we've come in a year. Behind the scenes, things that we don't see, there has been a lot of effort, a lot of resources put into organizing this Blockchain Intelligence Forum, inaugural Blockchain Intelligence Forum, and the response and the support that we've received has just been overwhelming that I've seen. And it's had the support not just of the ICI Bucharest, but also Europol. It's had the support of Interpol, the Basel Institute on Governance, the New York Department of Financial Services sent a representative across, and it's really the ECB, of course, yeah, they're always here. And I've just been humbled by the height and the sort of the level of participation, the level of willingness to engage, the level of willingness and openness to having these conversations, difficult as they may be.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. This has been a very engaging conversation. Look forward to hear more of the things that progress in the path of standards being formed for the blockchain analytics industry and for law enforcement and regulators.
Thank you, Javier. Thanks for having me.